Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity. And I do apologise for yesterday. There was no video because as of Wednesday, yeah, it all started on Wednesday, my computer started crashing. It was white screens, it was apps corrupted, it was all a mess. But I think, fingers crossed, I'm all sorted out now. So hopefully my camera isn't going to turn white on me. Right, today I'm using a bit from a personal haul. So I'm going to put my little scruffy mat down there because we're going to do some watercolouring. I did find it. I had lost it for quite a while. And we're using this die that I shared in a haul, which is that lovely wood plank that you can use for all sorts of things and double it up as a frame. And today I am going to double it up as a frame. So we're using that one. And then from that same haul these came in, because I don't often get a chance to make things with my haul. I got the lavender set, which I'm pretty sure all of that was one set, and I got a fern leaf. So that's what we're using today. I'm using Walmart cardstock, which is their watercolour cardstock, which is by the Bee Company. So I've cut two of my doodahs, so I've got those ready. I've cut my lavenders out, and I've also cut my fern, got a little bit of fluff on there, and I've also cut my card base in the same watercolour cardstock because we're going to do some colouring on that. And then that one will go on top of this one, which is just simple craft cardstock that I linked below in my Amazon store. So I'm just moving things around, and please excuse my throat once again. Now I'm using Tombow markers because they're so quick and easy. And if I do a quick run through, I'm using 158, 291, 977, 665, 452, 992, 177 and 743. So it's basically, if you look there, two shades of everything that we're going to be doing, because I want these two, which is kind of like a rose pink, for you know, doing a bit with my lavender. That's for my wood, that's for my sky, and those two for the fern. And I'm also using a water brush, and I found this great old stamp that I just hadn't used, and it's this one, and it says cherish each day. So we're going to stamp that into the middle, I hope, and I'm going to be using VersaFine Clair to do that. Now if I've got any space left, because I've still got these on my desk from the other day, I'm going to be using one of these resin wax seals. So I'm trying to be good and use stuff that I've got. So first up we're going to do the background. So I'm just going to move all of my cuttings and pop them over there. So I want this onto here. Make sure you've got no fluffy bits on it. And I've got my water brush. I haven't even checked to see if my water brush is clean actually. I usually do brush it out, but you never can tell, can you? Sometimes you can get excited doing other things and just totally forget. Right, so I'm going to just peel my stamp off my stamp block for a minute, because I'm going to use that as my palette. And I'm going to use my lighter shade first. So I'm wondering if I'm going to go straight to cardstock with this. No, I think I'm just going to go on here. Now this colour usually is extremely pale, but it's a great way for getting some clouds in there and just doing it real quick. So I've splashed some water down, just one little squeeze from my brush, and I can see it, and I hope that you can too, but I will pick it up after. If you get any like little bits of fluff, just kind of like try and flick them off with your brush. So I'm going real pale here, and I can see I've got little bits that's going to allow for my clouds, and then when I go in with the next shade you will surely see it, because it's so much darker. And of course I'm going to have to dry this, otherwise my paper is going to warp up, but I hope that you can see that it's on there and it's just real pale blue. Right, so I'm not going to wash that off. I'm actually going to use the water that is there, and now I'm going to scribble down some of my darker blue, and I'm going to use this just to squidge it about. Now this is already soaked, so hopefully you're going to see it. And just smoosh it around and let it run. Just think of your lovely cloudy sky. Think about where your clouds are and just leave your spaces there. That's what I say. I'm never aiming for perfection, but I'm just thinking about how a sky might look. Well, to me anyway. And I might have a little bit over there. And just use up basically what's on my palette. Don't worry about empty spaces. Those are your clouds. Right, so I hope that you can see that. So we've got a little cloudy sky. It's really pale and pretty. Right, I'm just going to pause and dry and I'll be straight back. Okay, so that's nice and dry, and now I'm going to glue it down onto my craft base. So quite literally just gluing it flat down there. So I've got my glue. I'm going to get my little pin out. I'm just going to pop it there where I can see it. Turn this over. And as I'm always saying, I tend not to glue up to my stitch lines in case it all comes squidging through. It probably wouldn't, but I just don't do it. I get a little bit, you know, paranoid about it. Now, I do want this to be straight because I can't see at the angle of my camera. So, I don't think that is straight either. I'm just going to go there and pray. That's what I'm going to do. Right, so that needs to dry onto there. I'm just making it sure it's nice and smooth, because of course whenever you apply water down onto cardstock you get a little bit of a bow in it. So, you know, while you've just got your glue wet, just make sure you're making your card base nice and straight again. So there we have that, and we have it onto craft cardstock. So the next thing that I want to do is the fence. And if the dogs start barking, it's because the mail lady. Now I'm going like this. Yeah. So I'm going to have this kind of like hollow within the frame. I'm just going to pop my pin back in my glue. And I've got my 2 shades of brown. So we don't want them overlapping yet because we need to colour them in. So I'm just going to put them reasonably close together, and I'm just going to do exactly the same as I did for my sky, and I'm just scribbling down the light colour first. I'm having a little splash of water. I'm going to stir that up, and we're going to go in with the light brown. Now you can do your fence panels in whatever colour you want to. If you use greys and whites, you've got that lovely kind of sun-bleached beach theme that you can create. But I'm kind of going traditional brown, kind of sun-bleached brown. I'm just getting that down. Right, so that's my pale shade on first. I'll do that one exactly the same and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's our light shade of brown down, and now I'm going in with the darker one, which is the 977, and this is more of a timber brown. So once again, because they're kind of complementary colours, I'm not going to clean my watercolour brush, and I don't need to clean off my ink blot palette. So now we're going in with some dark, and first of all I want to do between the fences, and then I want to go along the base because I want some shadow. Don't worry about stuff running or dripping. Watercolours like that, you can't control it. And I'm just going down in between areas for some shadow. So I'm not really overcomplicating this at all. And I'm running out of colour here, so I'm just going to wet this up. Pick that up with my brush and go back down in here just to create some more shadow. So you can tell this is going to be the base piece because that's where, you know, it's down on the ground. Now when you're going in reverse, you've got to think about your light, because my light's coming in from here. So when this top piece gets put onto here, and it's kind of going to go like that, and I need it to fit onto everything, my light is still coming in from that side. Let's get this here. But instead of putting any dark up here, which is this bit here, it's going to go down below. So I've still got my shadows here, so I'm still doing those pieces, but just not spending as much time on these bits because there's a lot more light because it's supposed to be up in the air. And then I need to scribble out a bit more, I think. And then I just want to do little bits along the edge. Put a little bit there. And I don't know, I've got to put a bit on the end as well. I have neglected my ends. There we go. So if I pull that one up there and that one down, then I'm going to do exactly the same thing along here. Put some shadow in there. Right, and when these are dry, they are going to form the frame. Right, I'm just going to let those dry and I'll be right back. Right, so my frame is reasonably dry, and one of the things that I need to do now is to, because I want to pop this up on foam pads, I'm going to bring in the base. I'm going to make sure that all of my pieces are going to fit onto my card. So we're going to be going like that. And I do want it, you know, kind of central. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the frame together first. So let's have a look here. About there, I think. Yeah, as long as it fits on my card, that's what I'm worried about. So I'm going to put a little blob of glue into there. I'm going to bring that down, and then I'm going to have a blob of glue on here, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Right, as long as I'm fitting, that's all I care about. Right, so now I know that my frame is going to fit onto there, because that's important, isn't it? And around on my table somewhere, you know, I did just put my pin, but, you know, You know what life is like. Life happens. So now I'm going to move those out of the way, and I will pop foam pads on those before I come back, just to make things quick. I did find my pin again, so I'm putting it back in. Right, now then, we are going to do the fern leaf and we are going to do the lavender. So the one thing all of these have in common is green. So green stalks, and then I'll do the lavender afterwards. So I'm going to start with my paler green. I've got these two, and I'm going to go in with that because I want just the lavender in the paler green, but I want to use both greens onto the fern. So I'm putting plenty down. I'm having one little squeeze of water. There we go. And then as I've done these, I can just move them out of the way. I actually tried to grow some lavender last year, and none of it came up. I think it was probably too hot. Or maybe my soil was too rich, because I think lavender likes quite sandy soil. And I'm going to go along here. But I do love to grow my zinnias. And I have great success with those. So now that I know I've done my lavender, I can now go in with my paler shade and do my fern. I do love ferns. They can be used for anything. You know, when you're doing like flower arranging and stuff on your cards, all the way to mixing them up with your mushrooms and your fairies and your gnome dies. And I do have a large collection of fern dies, and I have some that are almost full fern leaf size, which I really love. But it's kind of like years of collecting stuff. Right, so I'm going to let those greens dry and I will be right back. Right, so I've moved my lavender out of the way and I'm not cleaning this. I'm going to use the darker shade, which is the 177, and just mix them together. So I'm having a good old scribble there. Get my water brush. And now just go in with my darker one. And I'm going up the middle. And I'm doing the bottoms. So therapeutic. I hope everyone's going to have an awesome weekend. I can tell you exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be out in the garden with my safety goggles on. Yeah, I know. When I say stuff like that, I can feel you all gasping after my little episodes of falling off roofs and things. But I'm using a wood chipper. Oh my goodness me. I am so excited about that. If I can find something to shred, I'm going to shred it. Yeah. Right, now I have my two-tone fern leaf. And I've got a little bit there. Just want to fill in my little spaces. Just drag that. Right, now I'm going to let that dry and I will be right back. Right, that's dry, and I gave everything a little clean up so that we can do the lavender. It's getting close. There you go. So you've got two shades of green, all drippy and nice on there. So that piece is done. I'm just going to pop that over to there, and we're going to do our lavender. And it's the same colouring again, light shade first and then just dotting about with your darker shade afterwards. Now I am just going to clean off my water brush. I do that just by squeezing and brushing it out. Right, so we've got these two colours here, which are the 743 and 665, and one is a kind of lovely rosy pink, and then you've got the purpley lavender, and if my memory serves me right, this one's quite dark, so I'm going in with this one first. It's quite a vibrant shade, and I'm going to give that a good squirt of water. Did I just run out of water? Hang on, I'm going to refill my brush. Right, I've just put enough water in here to finish my little project. So I've got a good squirt down there, and we're going in with our lovely shade of pink first. I do love Tombow watercolours. The more water you put in, obviously, the paler your shade. And you can go down straight from the pen and get the pure colour, which is very saturated. I'm doing this. There we go. So we've got a lovely rosy pink down. And while we've still got some moistness in our paper and a little bit of travel, because of course the other colour is going to creep wherever it's damp, then I think we should do that now. And I'm going to go with my darker shade and just scribble that on. And it is, you know, quite a purple rather than a lavender, which is why I use the pink. And I'm picking up the pink water just to mix with it. And then we'll just go in and dot that about, because you're kind of like suggesting that you've got a little bit of dimension in this. You can, if you want to, go in with your white pen and add a few highlight dots. But I think I'm just going to stipple mine. Just so that I can see that there's two colours going on. Right, now they need to dry. And they're a lovely colour. Yeah, I like that. Right, I'll let those dry and we'll put the card together. Right, so I had a little tidy up and those are nice and dry. And of course this is our card base. Now I want to stamp a sentiment in here, but before I pop these up on foam pads is going to be the more sensible time to do that. So I have got Cherish Each Day that I shared at the beginning, and I think I kind of want it, I don't know if I want it central or topish. I might go more to the top, so I'm just going to ink this up with my VersaFine Clair. Now you have to remember that when you're stamping onto watercolour cardstock, that you don't get a full crisp stamp because the cardstock is textured. So that's just like, you know, a bit of what you have to sacrifice. Now I'm just standing up and I think I'm going to go there. Now I think this is a Heidi swap stamp, a really old one, and you kind of tend to squidge. There you go. Cherish Each Day. Now if you wanted to go around that with a highlighter or something like that, you can totally do that, but I'm just going to leave that like that. I don't want to over fuss it. So the next thing I need to do, now that I know that that's in my view, is put my Dollar Tree foam pads on, which I've got here. I'm just going to tear a bunch off. Now I'm not going to force you to sit there and watch me do this, so I'm wondering if a whole pad fits here. Yes it does, so I know that I can pop a whole one down on those sections. because of course you never want to be able to see the foam pads. So I'm going right within the edge there. Ooh, and that is cutting it quite close. And I can have a whole one down here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to vanish while I cut little bits and pieces of foam pad to go along here, and I'll be right back. Right, so that is complete. You can see I've got loads and loads of bits of foam pad on there. Now, as I was making this, I said my light is coming in from the left there, and I want my sentiment there, and I'm kind of going central. Now, because of the position of the foam pads, you have to be confident about where you're going to place your stuff. Now, it's going to be nice, I think, to have some on the outside because I've got that big white border. But then, obviously, I want to go in here too. So, I would suggest that you mark off where you're going to put your stuff. I kind of like that, because you might need to pop your flowers down before you put your foam pads down. See, so I know that I'm going to have those two to the outside, so I'm going to glue those. I'm just sitting back down again onto the face of it. So I'm just moving that over to there for a second, and I'm going to go straight in. I'm going to put my pin on my stamp block, and I'm going to put my fern on. So I need bits of glue here and not really any on the inside of it. So I want it overhanging the edge. And then I want it floating in the centre. So I've got my bit of glue there. I can see I've got a bit of fluff there again. So I'll bring that there. And then I want my lavender on the outside, because as you can see I've got that big white border there, so I'm kind of like trying to draw the eye away from that, and then I want that there, but I want my flowers to float, so I want to concentrate my glue down on the stalk at the bottom. Right, I'm just going to let that dry and I'll be right back. Right, so that bit is dry enough. So now I know that I want these flowers kind of like following the curve of the fern, but I want it behind. I want it behind and then popping back out. So holding my finger here, I can see that I need to remove the foam pad on that section, because my little piece of lavender there is going to get stuck onto here. So I want it to pop up inside, but I want it stuck on there. Any excess you can trim that off in a second. And then if I flip that over, you can see I've got my bit of lavender just going under my fern there. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this one. So let's just have another quick look, just to create some interest. Right, so I can see that for me it needs to either come off that one or that one. Let's have another look. Whether I want that there or want that there. Yeah, it is. It's this one. So I'm going to peel this one off. I'm trying to remember that I've got my sentiment that I don't want to totally cover and crowd out. So I've got that onto there. I'm going to trim this little bit off that would be sticking out from the bottom of my fence. And now all I'm going to do now is peel off the backs of all of these pads, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've gotten all of the backs off of those pads, and now I'm just going to pick it up and place it. So in the centre, or as central as I can be. I'm just going to pop that down there. Isn't that pretty? I mean, if you wanted to, you could add a little watering can or a little bird or a butterfly. I hope I'm not all blurred. I'm sitting down again. Yeah, let's have a little close-up. I just love that. I love the simplicity of it. And it was great fun to make. Right, I thank you so much for joining me today. I do hope you have an absolutely awesome weekend. And if these dies are still available, I will link them below. I'm not absolutely sure that they are. Because sometimes, I don't know why, a lot of the stuff I haul, it sells out or gets deleted. So anyway, do have an absolutely awesome weekend. Hopefully here on Monday without any tech calamities. Bye.